Welcome to the Fate Spun channel, a place where every story will make you feel, wonder, and hold your breath. Are you ready? Then go ahead. Story number 1. Mystical Riddles. A Guest from a Dream. Emily has always had vivid dreams, but this one was different. So real that she woke up in a cold sweat. In the dream, she found herself on the threshold of an old, abandoned house. Its wooden door was half open, and dim light was shining through the crack. The air was permeated with the smell of moisture and rotten boards. Suddenly, a man appeared in the doorway. He was tall and thin, wearing a long black coat. His eyes were piercing, and his gaze was almost hypnotic. She tried to step back, but her legs would not obey. The man stepped forward and whispered, "We will meet sooner than you think." Suddenly, the door opened with a crash, and the darkness inside began to engulf everything around her. Emily woke up feeling her heart pounding in her chest. She tried to calm down, but the images from the dream remained before her eyes. Throughout the day, Emily couldn't shake this strange feeling. She kept looking around, as if she was waiting for the man from the dream to appear somewhere around the corner. Walking to her favorite cafe, she could feel the hair on the back of her neck rise with every rustle. And then, in the window of the cafe, she saw him. He was standing on the street, silently looking at her. She froze, unable to believe her eyes. Her coffee cup almost fell out of her hands. The man stood there for a few seconds, then looked around as if he was looking for someone and slowly walked away. This incident haunted her. Over the next few days, she saw him again and again, in a bookstore, at a bus stop, near her house. All of these encounters were random, but his presence always made her nervous. Emily began to think she was going crazy. Her friends just laughed when she told them about this man. They assured her it was just a coincidence. But every time she tried to convince herself of that, something in her heart said it wasn't. One evening, she mustered up the courage. She saw him again, in the same place where she had first met him. Her hands were trembling, but she went up to him and asked, "Who are you and why are you following me?" The man looked at her calmly and said, "This is just the beginning. You will understand when the time comes." Then he turned and walked away. Emily never saw him again, but at night she would wake up with the feeling that someone was standing by her bed. And every time she opened her eyes, she saw only empty darkness. Story number 2. Comedy Confessions. Pizza on the Head. Jake and his dorm friends were always coming up with new pranks for their TikTok account. They knew that the funnier the prank, the more likes and views it got. One day, they came up with an idea that seemed brilliant. Their neighbor Mike had ordered a giant pizza for a party, and Jake overheard a conversation with the delivery guy. The plan was simple: intercept the pizza while the courier was leaving it at the door, and video Mike's outrage. Everything was perfectly prepared. When the courier put the box on the floor and walked away, Jake quickly ran up, grabbed the pizza, and ran to the end of the hallway, where his friends were waiting for him with their phones ready. He ran like a real prankster until he suddenly heard a door open behind him. "What are you doing, Jake?" Mike's voice boomed like thunder. Startled, Jake braked sharply and slipped. The pizza, still packed in the box, slipped out of his hands and flew straight at Mike's head. The box opened in flight, and the hot, cheesy mass instantly turned Mike's hair into a pizza hat. Jake's friends burst out laughing, filming the whole thing on their phones. Mike stood in the hallway with the pizza on his head, his face expressing pure, unbridled rage. "Are you serious, Jake? That was pizza for our whole group." Jake tried to apologize, but his every word was drowned in the laughter of his friends. "Dude, at least the cheese was hot, right?" he tried to joke, but it only made things worse. Mike, still shaking the pepperoni bits out of his hair, slammed the door and vowed revenge. But the story didn't end there. Jake accidentally pressed the live button, and the entire scene was broadcast to their followers. Comments poured in immediately. "Legendary! Pizza guy forever! Someone urgently call Mike for shampoo!" The next day, the video went viral. The pizzeria where Mike ordered the pizza even offered the guys a free certificate for a year if they came back and made another joke Jake and Mike reconciled after sharing the free pizza. In the new video, Mike even made a joke. If Jake's carrying the pizza, you better wear a helmet. Story number 3. Work secrets, the shadow of the past. When Lisa got the position of assistant manager in a prestigious company, it seemed like the beginning of a new chapter in her life. But everything changed when she found out who her boss would be. Nicholas is a man she hasn't seen in 5 years, the man with whom she had an affair. They met when Lisa was working at a small startup, and Nicholas was an investor. Their relationship was passionate but short-lived. Lisa found out she was pregnant and told him. Nicholas's response was cold. "This is not my child, and even if it is, I'm not ready." He stopped all contact with her, and Lisa was left alone to raise her son. The meeting years later was a shock for both of them. Nicholas looked a little older but still confident and impeccably groomed. He was surprised to see Lisa, but quickly regained control. "I hope we can work professionally," he said, not even looking her in the eye. Lisa decided to keep her emotions under control. But it became difficult when Nicholas began to pay attention to her personal life during the weekly meetings. "Your son, how old is he?" he asked, seemingly casually. Her heart sank, but she answered calmly, 5. He is very much like me." Over time, the situation became tense. Lisa noticed that Nicholas began to harass her. He demanded that she complete tasks within unrealistic deadlines, criticized her work in front of others. She realized that this was not just professional demandingness, it was an attempt to force her to leave. But Lisa was determined. She wasn't going to let him ruin her life again. One day, after another unfair rebuke, she mustered up the courage to be alone with Nicholas. "I know you're trying to push me out," she said, looking him straight in the eye, "but I'm here to stay. And if there's something you don't like, then maybe it's time to have an honest conversation." Nicholas held her gaze and suddenly said, "I thought you weren't coming back. I thought it was all in the past." "The past?" Lisa could barely contain her anger. "The past is when I was raising my son alone, and you were hiding from responsibility. But now it's the present, and I'm not here for you, I'm here for me." The following days were difficult. Nicholas seemed confused, but Lisa felt strong. She would no longer let him control her life. Over time, he stopped hitting on her and began to maintain a purely professional relationship. And Lisa, she felt proud of herself. She was no longer afraid of the shadows of the past because she had learned to stand up for herself and her son. Thank you for watching the video. Subscribe to the channel, like it, and don't forget to leave a comment. See you in the next video. Good luck!